Welcome to the Explainer. We live in a world that's just drowning in data, right? So how do you cut through all that noise to find what really matters? Today, we're diving into the work of 류용효's ConceptMap lab. It's this incredible group that has pretty much perfected the art of taking 100 pages of pure complexity and boiling it down into a single page of absolute clarity. We're going to break down their philosophy, their methods, and exactly how they pull it off.
You know the feeling. We've all been there. You get handed this dense 100-page report or a super complex proposal. You spend hours, maybe days, reading it, highlighting stuff. But then, a week later, what do you actually remember? A few bullet points, maybe? A fuzzy idea of the main point? Yeah. That exact feeling of being totally overwhelmed is exactly where our story kicks off. You know, every great idea, every real solution, it almost always starts with a really annoying problem. And for this lab, that problem wasn't just theoretical. It came from a deep personal frustration out in the real world. So picture this. Founder 류용효 is working as an engineer. His job is to take these old-school, super complex blueprints and build a 3D model from them. As he's working, a senior colleague comes over, takes one look, and points out a huge mistake. He hadn't set up the core reference lines correctly. And in that moment, it just clicked for him. He realized he wasn't really engineering a system, he was just drawing a picture. He wasn't grasping the deep structure underneath it all.
It's that classic problem, right? Seeing all the individual trees, but having no idea what the whole forest looks like. That struggle became his obsession. He just knew there had to be a better way. A way to see the entire, interconnected system all at once, not just the little pieces. And that set him on a quest to find a whole new way of thinking. So his search took him away from all the usual tools and led him to something with deep academic roots, but with some serious practical power. He discovered the ConceptMap. And we need to be clear, this isn't just some random diagram you doodle in a meeting. The ConceptMap is a serious tool. It was actually developed back in the 1970s at Cornell University by a guy named Joseph D. Novak. It was designed as a scientific way to visually map out knowledge and, crucially, to make the relationships between different ideas crystal clear. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, so it's a mind map. And that's a really important distinction to make, because it's not. Mind maps are awesome for brainstorming, right? You start in the middle and just let your ideas flow outwards. But a concept map, its superpower is showing the connections and the relationships between ideas. It's a network. And in business, in strategy, in pretty much any complex field, just knowing the facts isn't enough. You have to understand how they all link together. That's everything.
This quote right here, this is the core philosophy of the whole lab. And it's not really about being short for the sake of being short. It's about being clear. The discipline of forcing yourself to put your entire argument onto a single logical page, it creates a level of deep understanding that you could just never get from 100 pages of text.
So how do they actually do it? Well, they use this 6-step method. First, you cast a wide net and collect all your raw information. Then you sift through it and extract the key concepts, the keywords. Step 3 is the most important part. You have to find your single core message. What's the one thing you're trying to say? That becomes your anchor. After that, you visually re-edit everything around that core message. Then you create different versions, a super detailed full one and a simplified published one for presentations. And finally, and this is so important, you update it continuously. A concept map isn't a dead document. It's a living, breathing tool for thinking.
Okay, so the theory sounds great. It sounds powerful. But what does this actually look like in the real world? This is where it gets really, really cool. Let's take a look at the lab's portfolio. All right, one of the biggest use cases is in the corporate world. I mean, just think about how hard it is to get an entire company or even just one department aligned on a single strategic vision. It's a massive, super expensive challenge that, let's be honest, fails a lot of the time. This table really shows how these maps solve real-world problems. Take that first one, C mechanics. The challenge was getting all their executives on the same page about their smart factory plan. The solution? A single map that laid out the why. Why are we doing this? Instantly, everyone's aligned. Or think about a giant company like Michelin. How on earth do you explain a huge shift from just making tires to becoming a digital service provider? You map it out. In every one of these cases, a single page did the work of months of painful meetings and confusing slide decks. But it goes way beyond the boardroom. Concept maps are just an incredible tool for anyone who works with knowledge. We're talking authors, students, researchers, really any lifelong learner. This right here is probably one of my favorite applications they have, the book review map. Just imagine reading a super dense book like Sapiens and being able to distill its entire sprawling argument onto one single page. The map you create isn't just a summary. It's so powerful that the person who made it can give an hour-long lecture based on that map alone. It's the ultimate way to not just read a book, but to truly own its idea. So the method works for business and it works for books, but it can also be used to map the most complicated and fascinating subject there is, a human life. They call it the life map, and it's basically a one-page visual autobiography. It tracks everything: career moves, personal goals, family, big dreams. They've made these for all kinds of people: poets, architects, actors. It's more than just looking back, though. It becomes this incredibly powerful tool for self-reflection, and it can spark these really deep conversations, like between a parent and a child, about where they've been and where they want to go. So what's the next chapter for all of this? Well, the lab isn't just sitting still and perfecting this one method. They're actively pushing it into the future by bringing in two huge forces: technology and people. And this is where the vision gets really wild. They're merging the structured, logical human thinking of concept maps with the raw power of AI. The ultimate goal is to create what they call a secure, internal, vertical chat GPT. Vertical means it's only trained on a company's own highly structured knowledge from these maps. So you could just ask it a question in plain English like, who entered the incorrect data into our product system last quarter? And because the AI understands the process map, it could tell you instantly. It's about combining human insight with machine-level speed. Finally, and this might be the most important piece of the puzzle. This work doesn't just happen in a silo. The lab isn't just a business, it's a community. They operate on a simple but really profound belief. Knowledge isn't a resource you use up. Sharing your map, sharing your insights, it doesn't diminish what you know, it multiplies it. It sparks new connections and creates brand new opportunities for everyone. So, we'll leave you with this question to think about. Your work, your project, your life, it's all a massive web of hidden connections. If you could actually lay that entire world out on a single map and finally see the whole forest instead of just the individual trees, what new paths would you suddenly see clear as day?